Hey there everybody, Johnny T here, and today I want to talk about another watch that's pretty, let's just call it affordable, I suppose. This is another one of those watches that I would never recommend anybody buy. It doesn't seem to have any kind of branding on the watch face, but it's a Puritan. I don't know a whole lot about Puritan watches, but I know they're extremely cheap. Like if you look on eBay for Puritan watches, they don't sell for a whole lot. I could probably get $10 for this watch, including shipping, if I'm lucky. So this is another one of those watches that are just worthless. The build quality isn't terrible. This one's actually a step up from the American Exchange watch. The baton indices are actually bowed, so they do play with the light a little nicely. The dial itself is actually not bad. It's a really nice deep blue sunburst, so that's all well and good. Yeah, there's a lot to be desired with how this crown operates. It seems very flimsy. I'm not a huge fan of it. The date, so you notice this has a date complication. That's kind of different for a really cheap watch. And I think it even has a quick date set. That it does. So you'll also notice that get my camera to focus. It says made in Japan. Or sorry, Japanese movement. The bezel's fixed. It wants you to think it's a dive bezel, but it's fixed. There's no way to turn it. So that's kind of nice. The size of this watch is not bad. It is a 40mm case size, so it actually wears pretty decently. But the finishing is not great. You can see how rough and scratchy that is. Although it's generally smooth. Somebody wore it too, actually. And you can see the plating coming off on the center parts. You can also see that this clasp has a bit of wear as well. So I think somebody did wear this watch for a little bit. And if I had to take a guess, this was probably just one of those watches you could buy at, like, I don't know, Macy's or Target or something, that just came with a bunch of other stuff, maybe some other accessories. Yeah, not much else to say about it. It's actually not a horrible watch, but it's not, it really isn't worth much, and there are better options out there. But if you can find one of these for $5, I mean, that's probably what it's worth. So let's get into this and see what kind of movement it's got. I mean, generally speaking, I would like this watch is more acceptable than the other one. More acceptable than some other watches that I've seen, so it's not the absolute worst. I still would suggest you get something like a Timex or some kind of a Casio. Would probably be my guess, or my bet on a decent little watch. Although, I mean, well, you could find Timexes all day long. I mean, it's yeah, jeez, excuse me. You can find Timexes all day long at thrift stores and stuff for like $5, the same price as you would this watch. So, in a bin full of watches, I would always pick the Timex. because they're actually decent watches. They got their quirks. They're not perfect, but so the case back, it's got a very little gasket. That's also an improvement compared to that. What was that other watch? American Exchange. So this actually has a gasket, and that's a nice little touch. Does it say it's water resistant? Oh wow, water resistant up to 3 ATM. Hey, beautiful. The model number is PUR60552W. It even tells you what battery it uses, an SR626SW. This is actually not a bad watch. It's not. This is like the bare minimum acceptable in my mind. And again, like you can't sell these. They just, you're not gonna sell it. It's just not gonna happen. Let's get the spacer out, get a better look at this movement. Not bad. Not sure what movement this is though. Let me get my triplet and I will read some stuff out loud so we all know. It says it's a Miyota 2115. I used to know what all of these movements were, like the back of my hand. I haven't worked. I haven't been working on these cheaper watches for a little bit, so I'm not entirely sure. I can't remember exactly what this is, but that's what it says. I'll put it in the description once I figure out what watch this actually is. So, and yeah, it says it's a 626, but that translates differently here. That's what the Japanese like to call this kind of battery, but the Swiss, I believe, like to call it a 377, 376. And you know what? I'm pretty low on those at the moment. I guess I gotta buy more, don't I? And I would bet that that's not the first time I've said that recently either. But should be able to get a battery in the, get a battery in this, and it should run. These Japanese movements are awesome. Okay, whoop. Come on, dude. Oh man, trying to do more tweezer work. It's been recommended that I work on my dexterity with tweezers, because that's probably what real watchmakers do. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. Wowzers, I did it. Cool. That wasn't so hard. This is good practice. Now, does it run? I don't see why it wouldn't. These little Japanese movements are workhorses. They're very inexpensive and kind of high quality, honestly. Yeah, see? Told you. It's running. So yeah. Unfortunately, what I'm probably going to end up doing with this watch is I'm going to steal this movement out of it, and I'm going to use it in a different watch, I think. Because again, I mean, nobody wants to buy a Puritan watch, a used Puritan. Nobody wants to buy a new one either. So I'm probably going to get a Sharpie and a sticky note. I'm just going to say that this movement's working and put it in a plastic bag and figure out what movement this actually is, and then just save it for, it's going to be a donor movement. And that's probably the most use most of us will get out of a watch like this, I'm thinking. I'm going to get this battery out. There's no reason to keep the battery in. Where did I put my brass tweezers? Get used to using brass tweezers. Whoop. And then pick them up with these plastic ones, and that needs to go back in the box. Cool. You know what? I'm going to take the movement out now, just to kind of get it out of the way. I'll figure out what it is later, but there's no reason to not do it, as far as I can tell. So we got to figure out how to pull this crown out. I think I know what to do. So there's a little indentation right there. I think all I have to do is push that. It'll pull out. Maybe. There we go. Yep, that's how you do that. Then we just need to get a better look at this here face. I mean, that's honestly, like, it's really not a bad made watch, all things considered. There are better options. This is not that bad though. But again, like, nobody wants it. But yeah, the way I go about doing this is I use this here time-lapse lever kit, and then I will just put these. I usually put, like, if I want to protect this watch face, I will use a Bergeon watch face protector. I might as well do that. Yeah, I probably should. Just for good measure. Yeah, so it's a part, what is it? 6938. It's just this little plastic piece you would put under here, like that, to protect your dial from the marks these levers would make. And there. And as you can see, I did not leave any marks, and that's the point. So, okay, so now for the movement. So I think this movement is probably being held on by these two little indentations. So I think the correct thing to do is get a screwdriver, maybe a flathead, and then whoop, not drop the watch face. If this is a watch you're caring about, you just want to very gently pry underneath and it'll come up. And there's even little holes for your screwdriver head to even go in, at least for this style. And it's off. And yeah, oh, it's a Chinese made dial. And be careful, because these posts are very easy to break. I've broken them before, and I've bent them out of shape before to the point where you can't reinstall the movement. But yeah, I mean, that's not a bad little dial, honestly, even though it's Chinese. So there you go. We now have our little movement. And then I just put the crown back in. For good measure. And we're done. That's not true. Oh yeah, it is. Yeah. So this is a version with the date wheel. Ah, that's right. So I'm pretty confident that some of these don't have this date function here. So this is actually gonna, like, this is a more desirable version of this movement. And I've needed this movement to replace the movement in another watch before. Because believe it or not, there are some very collectible watches that are kind of vintage that use this movement that are worth decent money. So there you go. That's how you do that. And there's that review of this here Puritan watch. I think the crystal is actually mineral. So yeah, had a gasket using a good Japanese movement. It has 100 feet of water resistance, and the bracelet's not terrible. And somebody used to wear this watch, and it still runs. Not bad. I will be recycling the rest of this though, because nobody wants it. Alrighty, well, thank you very much for watching, and yeah, if this is interesting, like and subscribe. I don't expect these videos to do well. Like, I don't think a lot of people are going to care about this kind of stuff, but maybe somebody out there does. So anyways, take it easy.